First date. What should I wear? Something casual or designer? What color should I wear? Black? He mostly wears black. No. I shouldn't make random guess, and if I go for black, it would be obvious. Excited Van was trying to figure out, leaning over their dressing table top. Help me to shave. It's my first date with my future wife. You, confused kitty, can you pass me the shaving foam? Sassy Jungkook interrupted Van. The foolish girl still trying to understand if the boy in front of her had read her mind. So she stammered. Shaving kit. Here it is. She rummaged through the shelves, tried to find what he just asked for. Your shaving kit? Here it is. Van was about to give him the toiletry pouch, but he refused. Help me to apply the shaving foam. He consciously used a husky romantic voice to weaken the person in front of him. Do you know that you are too cute? Van looked at him while applying the foam on his cheeks and jaw area. Don't tell me to help you with the razor. Jungkook could feel by her touch on his cheeks that she was nervous. Though she had indirectly accepted that, still the bunny boy didn't want to lose this opportunity to tease her. So, the CEO of the Jones and the Kims, you were nervous. Placing his hands on the both sides of the counter, Jungkook trapped her between the counter and his body. He leaned forward and, after a few seconds, he casually walked out of the door. The must be your favorite, and if possible, put on something white. Standing in front of the mirror, she was left dumbfounded. After taking deep breaths a few times, she finally took a white dress and her favorite set of lingerie. Mentally, she was cursing herself as she could have asked him what he was going to wear in their very first date night. Van, come on. You are not the teenager who would act like this. Stop being impulsive. I want the impulsive one who would not stop herself from screaming, jumping to express the joyous sides. Jungkook interrupted her thoughts from the next room. I heard you, girl. You are ready? Van gasped as she picked to his room. No, I'm not. He was busy in his phone. Looked like he was tensed for some reason. Ku, are you okay? Is everything okay? Van asked. Yeah. The bunny chuckled immediately. Stop lying, Cook. Van said in a stern voice. Tell me, what happened? Jungkook was still sitting on a couch. He got up and walked towards Van. My future wife? Do you like surprises? I can tell everything if you want, but don't blame me in the future. Oh, so the muscle bunny is nervous for a date and was teasing me a few minutes ago. Wow. Van tiptoed to touch his forehead with her broad one. We must relax. Do you have some time? A few minutes? Van asked, and he nodded immediately. Cool. What are you expecting from my side this time? I am assuming things just randomly. Van looked at him with a gentle smile on her face. For tonight? Jungkook raised his eyebrows. Are you sure? Van nodded as a sign of confirmation, and that made him chuckle. Our fathers are friends for a long time. They both have started their business and never involved economically. When I was studying abroad, Your father used to visit me whenever he went there for his business, no matter how tight his schedules used to be. He never tried to be my friend. He was like my father. We talked about many things, many unnecessary, uncomfortable chats. Jungkook looked emotional while reminiscing. Uncomfortable, like? I knew nothing about business and he had no idea about my studies. Back then, I didn't have the filter that would bridge between my theoretical knowledge and the real life problems. The terms were different. Even in business, the terms are all different. Jungkook sniffed. So, what used to be your common topic of discussions? Except the greetings. When asked, as at that moment she really wanted to know. You? Jungkook looked at her. I still remember. Your father used to mention you in a certain point of our conversation, like you were planning to do this and that, etc. Not consciously, he mentioned your name though, as a part of his life. I used to think that you were mine for no reason. This concept was grew in me. What would I do if we go on a date and many more things? You were often seen on the newspaper headlines. Thanks to them, I actually have lived with you in my own world, where you used to be like a normal girl, raw, like my sister, my mom. Yeah, you used to react like them, and we were happy. I eventually got busy, and that feeling got suppressed. In real life, you were just the same, just you need to take off the mask you built consciously. I want the unfiltered version who used to live with me in my imagination. To be honest, it's not a date. Desperately, I want to make my dreams come true. It may be different from the dreams, but it must be dreamy. A part of me desperately wants to prove you that my dreams are sweet. We can be happy even in our real life. Jungkook finally raised his face. So, what are you planning for our date night? When asked, and he chuckled. I'm emotional, not drunk. Who was I moody? When asked out of curiosity. Moody, he chuckled. Your character was mixed. Some were like Nona, some were like my mom. You used to throw tantrums, and I simply loved that. It was romantic like 100 times more than K-dramas, but you don't have any tantrums. You are a person who believes in adjustments, and I am appreciating your this nature. Everyone claims that I'm arrogant. When defended, that's your shit van. That's not my van. That's Kim Van, the CEO of the Jones and the Kims. Jungkook chuckled. Go, get ready, quick. After that conversation, one couldn't stop smiling. Looking at the mirror, she felt satisfied. She felt like their relationship was manifested. Ready? Jungkook knocked on the door, which was unlocked from the other side. Yes? When opened the door, damn, he would definitely be a handsome groom. I know. Jungkook casually chuckled. I am looking handsome. Yes, you are. When appreciated him. Let's go then. Wen knew that she was going to be surprised for many times, so she kept looking around, and as she was about to step outside the apartment, she noticed him bringing out a red rose out of nowhere. For me? Wen exclaimed in joy, and Jungkook nodded in agreement. Yes, let's sit in the car. It was giving a major K-drama vibe, and Wen couldn't take her eyes from the single rose she was given. What? Jungkook asked the absent-minded girl. feels so good. One looked at him. But why aren't you driving? Mm, you can say I'm underprepared. Still need some time to make some arrangements. And what if we start feeling drowsy? I don't want to take risk. Jagu chuckled. The car was stopped in front of a beach area, probably a private one. The setup was romantic and one could see it from a little distance. I'm impressed, Junior Jung. I wanted to enjoy the sunset with you. Sit. Jungkook tapped on his lap, but she decided to sit beside him and put her head on his shoulder. Both of them didn't utter a single word for a long time. They enjoyed the comfortable silence while enjoying the beautiful sunset. Cool. Will you click some pictures? One broke the silence. It's so beautiful. Let's have a walk, Jungkook suggested. They got up from there and took tiny steps on the sand, enjoying the salty wind. One stopped at a point and drew a heart on the wet sand. Cool. Why can't we think more than this, drawing heart or our names? Maybe because it's instinct. Jungkook was busy taking pictures of the cute girl who was doing random things. Watch out, you maybe get wet. Jungkook tried to alert her, and the next moment the hurt Van drew on the sand was disappeared. That was childish. One sighed and started walking on the beach again. Go look what I found! A seashell! She exclaimed and ran towards the shell. She was about to collect the seashell when she noticed a ring. She looked at Jungkook. She wanted to tell him that she just found a ring inside the seashell, but looking at his satisfied, smiling face, she understood it was his setup. Jungkook was a few meters away from her. Van, turn and answer me before it gets erased. Van turned and walked towards Jungkook. Cool, it's yes, but I want to hear the plan B too. Jungkook chuckled while nodding. He gently took the seashell and took the ring out of that. This is not the most expensive or the biggest one diamond available in the store, but in my eyes it was the most beautiful design available in your size. Miss Kim Van, you are the prettiest woman I have ever met. Will you marry me? Yes. Van nodded and jumped into his embrace, giving him a bear hug. He gently put on the ring on her ring finger, waiting for the day when I will be proposed to. You are not a girl? One raised her eyebrows while clicking some mandatory pictures. But I'm marrying the owner of two big companies of the country, Jungkook pouted. So, Mr. Fiancé, what kind of wedding do you expect from me? Van asked him while finger-locking their hands. The way our fathers set up the luxurious party, something like that is mandatory. I'm not asking for that, but you would have to arrange things like that because of the standard maintenance. Jungkook chuckled. I always dreamed about a private life. You, I, and nobody. Thank you for saying yes. Jungkook gently pinched on her nose and she giggled. It was already evening. The traces of sunlight was already vanished. Are you hungry? Jungkook asked her. Not that much, but I will eat. What's about you? Are you hungry? Van asked him. I am, Jungkook nodded. Van, I'm a classic man. He took a ring from his pocket and gave her. It's my wedding ring. I will not be able to wear it all the time, but I promise I will always wear it out of the OT. What preparations do you want to be a bride tonight? Jungkook and Van were standing in front of their dinner setup. You, Van whispered as she was choked emotionally. A veil? You were already wearing white. Jungkook chuckled and Van shrugged her shoulders. Maybe yes. Jungkook gestured his team to arrange the veil. She was impressed by his foresight, the way he planned everything, every single details. She was impressed. Van was told to stand at a particular point, a few meters away from Jungkook. Jungkook, the man in black tuxedo, took calm steps towards the girl in veil. His mind was constantly trying to reconcile the beautiful reality with his dreams, his blurry memories. Van was wearing neither the bridal makeup nor a classic wedding dress, yet she was looking pretty. Sorry, but I can't show my affection in front of thousands of people, yet we both need to be affectionate for each other. Jungkook looked at Van's face, who wasn't looking angry at all because of his intimate wedding. Jungkook lifted the veil and made an eye contact with his bride. I promise to honor you, love you, and cherish you as my wife, today and every day. Jungkook began to take his wedding vows. It was cute, romantic, yet honored her in a proper way. I didn't prepare any, one stammered. Just go for what you feel, what you want. He reassured her and she raised her face, made an eye contact. I choose you and promise to choose you as my husband every day we wake. I will love you in word and deed. I will laugh with you, cry with you, scream with you, grow with you, and craft with you. To be your kin and your partner in all of life's adventures is all I could hope for in the world. Loving what I know of you and trusting what I don't yet know. I give you my hand. I give you my love. I give you myself, the good, the bad, and the yet to come. You love me in love and complete me in ways I never knew possible. From this day forth, I promise to listen to you and learn from you, to support you and accept your support. I will celebrate your success and mourn your losses as though they were my own. I will love you, my wife, and rejoice in your love for me for all of the years of our lives. Jungkook took his next vow. Today, I promise to be your navigator and sidekick in all of life's adventures. I promise to be your best friend and your wife. I promise you myself completely. Wen took her one too. Give me your bad hair days, your long commutes, your burnt coffee, and last case, give me your everyday, and I will give you my love to make it all alright. Jungkook pecked on her forehead. Wen felt guilty for preparing nothing for him, and this time it was obvious in her eyes. You're sad because I planned this? Jungkook asked her, being concerned as he didn't want her to be sad at that day, particularly on that moment. She nodded with a pouted face. My CEO, please bond me in a relationship. I know you have always been an overprepared girl. Believe me, this was probably the last thing I planned. Jungkook raised his left hand. Although her eyes were welling up and she was trying her best to control herself, tears were rolling down her cheeks as she looked at the ring on his finger. She had no idea that her feelings would be expressed so strongly in such a small, private, intimate event. Hi, husband. She almost whispered with a satisfying smile on her face. May I, the bride? Jungkook chuckled. Did you do so many things just for an... Wen cutely frowned as she remembered How had he restricted himself before? No, wasn't the factor. My wife. Maybe I have arranged so many things that I can call you my wife. Jungkook's answer was enough to melt Van's heart. She wrapped her arms around his neck and closed her eyes. You may, the bride. She whispered in an audible range and pressed her soft lips on his bones. After a long romantic, aren't you going to ask me about food? Aren't you hungry? Jungkook chuckled while lighting up a lantern. Yeah, just not willing to ruin these moments. She casually shrugged her shoulders. You want photos? Don't worry. Jungkook was interrupted. I'm capturing everything with the resolution of 576 megapixel. Don't worry about it. Everything was arranged perfectly. Obviously, Jungkook had asked to her personal chef to prepare her favorite food. As expected, one was surprised seeing the dinner arrangements. Jungkook only wanted to see her like that, being all amazed, astonished. I never thought a romance would feel so comfortable. I just pictured of having a picture perfect wedding for both of us. He giggled. It was already dark outside. After the dinner, Van and Cook both got into the just married car. She looked out of the window. Will you take me here whenever you will return? Every year or in every 5 years? Van's words made him get out of the clouds of his imaginations. He wanted to say yes or wanted to nod in agreement, but he hesitated. The reality hit her silently, but it was really, really hard. Probably Van understood seeing him like that. She had started understanding the zoned out Jungkook and realized how insecure her words made him. She was feeling guilty for her words. Both the newlyweds were upset and soon realized that they should cherish the moment. Van took his hand and held it between her palms. I love you. She tried to comfort Jungkook every possible way and finally he made her seated on his lap and pecked on her. Love you too, wifey. As the car stopped in front of their apartment, being a gentleman, Jungkook got out of the car first to open the door for his wife. Wen responded with a smile and stepped out of the car. She was about to take steps towards the main entrance but stopped by Jungkook. Not today, wifey. Without wasting a single second, he took her into his arms and carried her in bridal style. You should enjoy this treatment, my queen. He didn't forget to place a peck on her. Then why this bunny king didn't carry me like this yesterday? When made a pouty face in front of the media? Then plan your dream wedding like I did. Every single thing, from your favorite ring to venue, the menu, guest list, and I promise I will carry you like this. Jungkook touched her tip of the nose with his sharp one before opening the door of their apartment. But you don't need to choose a ring for me. I will wear only this. Van was taken inside his bedroom and was seated on the bed. I will if you compensate me with the you didn't give me last time. There was a hint of demand in her tone, and surprisingly, it sounded sweet enough to his ears. As you wish, wifey. Cook, I strictly follow the dilation routine. Still, I know that when I would be physically with a real, then. She looked at him with full of confusion. If I'm not wrong, I advised you that. Don't worry about that. Jungkook chuckled. then our wedding night, it's going to be ruined. She was struggling to gulp down the wave of emotions inside her, but his strong embrace and soft lips didn't let her to do so. His lips captured her trembling ones and kissed until she calmed down. I am a classic man, Van. I know my duty, and I like to be within my limits. Just don't think anything fundamental and follow your instincts. Closing her eyes, she wrapped her arms around his neck and whispered in his ears, "Will Troya be? What do you want as your wedding gift?" I requested you to wear something white, actually, to wrap my wedding gift. Let me check that. He rubbed his lips on her bare neckline and back of her shoulders. His ears were waiting to hear her, which she was trying to control. It's beige. He sighed in the naughtiest way possible. I thought I was wearing white good. She gasped as she felt his cold fingertips on her warm skin. I should help my wife to change, and started her dress while standing behind her. Playing with her soft skin was really giving her goosebumps. Jungkook noticed that. He placed his soft on her shoulders while dropping the dress from there. Though she still had put on another layer of fabric, the way he was doing that, it definitely was making her crazier. He knew what he was doing, like unwrapping gifts. He was unwrapping the world of emotions for her, and obviously, she needed time. Jungkook was in no rush. He took his time to explore every and made sure to stamp it with his to mark his territory. There was a time when he wanted to imagine this, and when he was finally experiencing this, it felt so precious, priceless. He just dropped the dress from her waist as his hands were busy kissing her. That tickling sensation, followed with his signature word stamps, that almost took her breath away. She was in a blank state of mind. Jungkook knew even if she was trying to think something, anything, she won't be able to think in proper order. Her thinking capacity was getting hazy, blurry, and Jungkook was failing for this role. For both of them, it felt so right, so legal to enjoy the moment, getting more and more crazy for each other. Under the dim light of the room, Jungkook started taking off his one by one. For Van, it was something new, and as his chiseled abs were exposed, it was like a feast for her eyes. Jungkook was only a few centimeters away from her, so she easily could reach him and started unbuttoning his. Jungkook was stunned for a moment. Van, look at me. He directly looked at her eyes and little forcefully made her to look at him. You have been dilating properly, right? Van nodded in agreement and a proud grin was obvious on his lips. Are you ready? He didn't assure her anything else as he wanted to feel her discomfort himself. He knew he won't be able to enjoy the whole process like any other normal couple, and he consciously wanted to be within his limits. Van was still in her beige colored, while Jungkook was standing right in front of her without a thread on his. Van tried to avert her eyes, but he made her look at him. I am all yours, John Van. At that point, Van just couldn't look away as her eyes were fixed on Jungkook's. Is the biggest one dilator this much thick? She gulped down in nervousness. I am just a human being, not an exception. Don't worry, you are overthinking, probably nervous because you are used to with the manually prepared ones, and this is the one which is destined to be yours. He bent down to caress her hair. When we will use a lot of, and don't worry, I know my limits. He handed her that. May we start? As she nodded, unexpectedly her favorite was torn into pieces as Jungkook looked too impulsive. When, within a moment, she lost her favorite. At the same time, she felt shy as she was all to him. She tried to cover with her and crossing her legs, but Jungkook stopped her. He on her and gestured her to pour some. Just keep breathing and please trust me. When did so, hovering over, he started. His eyes were fixed on her. She looked comfortable and felt too tight. It was not only her first time, his either. But the irony was, he knew that he can't her and he was mentally prepared for that. He was not thinking to do so, but the warmth of her, it was making him restless. How are you feeling? Jungkook asked her. Are you totally inside? When asked him back and he nodded. I can feel something but not any pain. She caressed his forehead. When he almost collapsed on her body as he inside her as he was too poor in his own techniques. To be honest, he couldn't. He actually wasn't in a situation where he could casually do that, and he knew that, but he didn't imagine that her warmth would make him that much weak. He carefully detached their. You should get up and clean up yourself. I will help you. Let me be like this. I can, but I don't want to. When exhaled. When you know you can be. Jungkook looked worried. Do you think I'm afraid? Do you think I can't raise a baby? Ah, and let's enjoy this moment, Ko. When casually treated him, Jungkook lied down next to her, and honestly, he was low-key feeling proud and happy, though they didn't plan anything, but her action and words made him giggle in joy. He kept caressing her hair, taking her into his embrace. Cool, take off my. It's feeling uncomfortable. When muttered in his embrace, and Jungkook looked at her with surprised eyes. He was still trying to confirm what he heard was right or not. Cool. When moved in his embrace, he unclasped her and covered her body with a thin sheet of fabric. You should get up and go to the washroom. When finally opened her eyes and looked at him, he was trying his best to look at her eyes, but it kept averting. Wanna see my when chuckled. Jungkook gulped down an amount of saliva. He tried to hold back all his greed but couldn't suppress it for longer time. Come on, now you must get up. Wen nodded in agreement and went to the washroom, and after a few minutes, she came back and lied down on the freshly prepared bed by Jungkook. Obviously, she was overwhelmed by this action of his. She was wearing an oversized t-shirt. Her tired eyes were about to close when she heard his husky voice. When I want to touch you. Huh? When reacted. And that's all she could do. Immediately, he took her into his embrace and slowly pulled her t-shirt. When you have the authority to decide the temperature of the AC. Van looked at him being all confused. So, but you can't wear this in the bed, Mom. He took off the t shirt and threw anywhere in the room. I saved it as my dessert. You were obviously the most delicious full meal I have ever eaten, and I want to have it regularly. Wen was stunned seeing this new version of Jungkook and his obsession with each and every part of her. Jungkook snuggled into her embrace and slowly started her right one. The feeling was new. Till that day, she used to think that her were sensitive because of its numbness that fluctuates throughout the month, but at that moment she realized what the actual meaning of sensitivity was. She loved that feeling, but she wasn't ready to accept it as Jungkook's eyes were fixed on her face. His fingers crawled to the another one and started playing with it the way it should be. But gradually she started admitting through both of her actions and expressions that she was enjoying it. Till then, everything was alright, and suddenly his fingers could feel something, a firm, rubbery, about a pea sized, almost round, something that was moving with the tissues. Jungkook's fingers were stopped. He guessed what it was. He had treated many patients having these symptoms, but that moment he felt like he had explored one. Van, who was enjoying the whole thing, actually got annoyed as he stopped kissing her. Cool. It's too late to stay awake. Close your eyes. Let's sleep.